Hey, what's up guys? Tony here, and you're watching another post-race commentary. This is week 5 of the GRA V8 Supercar season, and this is at Circuit of the Americas, otherwise known as COTA. And I guess first off the bat, this is a track that I think I've only raced a couple of times. I think when it first came out, I raced a bunch of it at week 13 when it first was introduced. And then the Western configuration that we're running is the one that I actually really like. The entire Grand Prix, I'm just not a fan of it. I don't know, I just don't like it. And I know there's a lot of people that just don't really like this track to begin with. So anyways, the topic that I want to talk about in this post-race commentary is a personal nature, and it's really one of the big reasons why I started a YouTube channel in the first place. And so I'll get into that in just a second. So like I was complaining about last week with the dynamic weather, that sort of same thing came and sort of hit us in the ass for this race as well. So the practice sessions were all over the place. I got into a really good practice session. I was putting down some really competitive times. The weather was like perfect, and then we get into the league session and the weather is completely, track temperatures were probably a good 10 to 11 degrees hotter than they were in the practice session, the one that I was immediately in before this one. So of course that threw like a wrench into everything. And the car was quite slippery, especially in lap 1. So you'll notice that this first lap I'm very tentative. And so I don't know, I'm just trying to, you know, when the weather shifts like that on you from session to session, for me, I just, you know, honestly, I just kind of want to finish the race. Attrition's not particularly high in our league, but it can be, depending on the track and depending on the conditions, that the attrition can, you know, can get some people. And so basically the way I've always seen it, and this is thanks to my teammate Tim, is that, you know, it's better to finish the race than put down the fastest lap time. And so that's kind of the mentality that I took. And the other thing is that this race was not a very good race for me at all. It was a very sloppy race. I just didn't have it. You know, it's just like, it just wasn't there. And a part of that is going to be what I'm going to talk about here in a minute. But I think I had like 7 slowdowns this race. I was not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. So what I want to talk about is that I'm going to be taking a break from my racing. It's about time, and it's really has nothing to do with the service. You know, it really doesn't have anything to do with the dynamic weather. I'm complaining about it just because that's a symptom of just how I've been feeling lately. And so if you've been around the channel for a while, and by a while I mean maybe the beginning or any time within the last year or so, you'll know that I've talked about the fact that I'm a live-in caregiver for my grandmother. And so I've been living with my grandmother now for close to 7.5 years. So I moved in with her in March of 2008 at the behest of my uncle, who's the executor of her will, or of her trust. And so she needed somebody to live with her. And my older brother was staying with her at the time, but he was getting very serious with a girlfriend, and they eventually moved in together and got married. And so, you know, she needed someone here. And the reason why she needed someone here is because she has Alzheimer's. And so in 2008, it wasn't really so bad. She was forgetful, but she was more or less my grandmother. She would forget stuff all the time, and she would ask me, hey, did I do this? Did I do that? And so I would, you know, facilitate any needs. You know, she lost her driving privileges, things like that, you know, so I needed to shuttle her places. But she was very self-sufficient. You know, she didn't really need much. And so, of course, as the years have gone by, the level of care that she's required has gone up. And so my commitment, you know, my actual commitment, and I guess an emotional commitment, has increased over the years. And so I actually noticed at the end of last season that I was becoming very agitated, and it was pretty much right about, so anyway, so like it was about mid or early June, excuse me, and so things were getting to me. I was becoming very upset. I was becoming very agitated. Things were just bothering me, and it probably was going on before then, because I remember it was just like a few weeks before the Phillip Island. That's the Phillip Island race that we had last season, which I think was week 12. That was the race that just like I could just feel like something was different about me, and you know, the channel and just sort of my desire to do stuff. And so a lot of it has to do with that I finished, you know, school for the semester, so I wasn't distracted by what's going on in my house with my own research and my own priorities. So now that I'm on summer, I am sort of lambasted by my living situation and by my grandmother's needs. I can't deflect. I don't really, I mean, I'm researching, I'm reading, I'm working on my my thesis, but I have a lot of time on my hands, so it's not just, I'm just, you know, I'm here all the time now. And so anyways, what has started to happen is as it's happened before, and I recognize it, and I guess this is another one of the reasons why I'm doing this in the first place, is that I need to get it off my chest. I need to, you know, just get it off my chest. I need to vocalize. I need to talk about it. And I created this channel as an outlet, and to sort of a window into my personal life, and just like I said, an outlet, and just something to help me cope. And so I haven't really done that in a while, and so I feel that I should do it now. But anyways, so in June I started to notice something was amiss, and that my grandmother is really in sort of the final stages as far as the care I can give her. And so about 2 weeks ago we had a family gathering, and my uncle, my mom, and myself, my aunt was going to come, but she was sick. But we had a director of a care facility come and sort of observe my grandmother, and so she pretty much deemed, and it was basically a confirmation of I guess the pseudo diagnosis that her doctor gave her a few months back when I took her for her annual physical. And I asked him very plainly, I said, do you think that she's at the point where she requires professional care? And of course he had some options, like, you know, well, you could hire a nurse to come in and stay when you're not there if you need a break. But yeah, you know, he said that she's close, is what he said. And her doctor is a really good doctor, but he kind of danced around the issue because you know, he just, I don't think he was expecting my question, and I don't think he wants his recommendation is like the sole mover and shaker of what goes on. But to be honest, what was going on is that I felt that I was departing from this living situation. The living situation was only supposed to be temporary. When I moved in 2008, it was supposed to be like 2 weeks, and then it was kind of like a couple of months, and then it sort of just became indefinite. And needless to say, that has affected me a great deal. So we had this director come, and she took a look at my grandma. She talked to all of us, and we made a decision as a family that it was time for her to go into a care facility. And so I guess what I'm getting around to saying is that I'm noticing right now is that you know, I'm going through some stuff that I haven't gone through in a long time. When my grandfather, he passed away in 2007, you know, I went through, I guess, like a bout with depression. I'm not really quite sure how to classify it, because I don't really like to use like, oh, I'm depressed, you know, and I mean not to make light of depression, but I am, because I had a roommate when I was living up in Santa Barbara. I had a roommate who slept on our couch. We were 3 guys. We lived in this apartment, and he broke his leg at one time in his life, and so for whatever reason he always slept on the couch, and he was on antidepressants, and he was smoking pot all the time. And so anyways, he used his depression as a way of getting sympathy from people. And so I always sort of look down on him, and I'm not looking down on people with depression because I get it. You know, it's not, you know, depression is not the, you know, this guy. He does not embody depression. But he uses it as a way to get, you know, sympathy and you know, get things from people. So after my grandfather died, I went through a tough spell, and I just kind of finally realized I think I was a little depressed. And so thankfully at the time I was coaching high school baseball, so you know, I had things to get me out of the house, I had things to get me motivated, and so I got over it over time. One of the big things was actually just sitting down and talking about it, kind of like I'm doing now. And I recognize those same sort of symptoms, I guess, in me now. You know, I have the same sort of, I'm agitated. I don't really feel like doing anything. You know, obviously the channel hasn't had much in the way of content, and I don't know, I'm sort of withdrawing from certain things, you know, like the V8 Supercar League. I love the car, I love the league. But I am recognizing that I have a lot of misplaced aggression and a lot of misplaced frustration and anger that's stemming from one thing, and that's, you know, not my grandmother at all, but the situation. And so I'm just, I don't know, like I said, I'm taking this time to try to deal with that. So anyways, the other part is that we're gonna put her into a care facility, and that I'm gonna have to find a new place to live, and which is, you know, no small task. And so I've been in a very fortunate situation where my family has helped me to support me, and so I've been a beneficiary of this situation. I've helped out the family to make sure that my grandmother could stay in her home as long as possible. And when I went back to school in 2007, so basically my second semester back into school, my uncle was generous enough to say that we can help you out while you're in school. If you stay here with your grandmother, we'll help you out. And so you know, I've worked on and off over these last 7 years. Actually, the majority of the time I've worked. But this last year, just going through grad school and in the stress of grad school, I actually spent the last year unemployed. And so now I got to get myself back on my feet and go get another job. And so, you know, move out, and I'm moving out with my girlfriend. And so I think a lot of that stress of just the stress of living here and the stress of having to leave and just sort of seeing the end in sight has been on you know, my shoulders, and it's been bugging me, and it's been affecting the way that I handle certain situations. You know, actually, a friend of mine, I commented to him that, you know, he asked me if I wanted to do his podcast a few weeks ago, and I just sort of sat on it. I didn't let him know. I didn't say yes or no, and it was because of that. I don't know. I just didn't. You know, I was just very lethargic, and so. Another friend of mine, he runs a sort of a website called Anxious Gamer, and it's about, you know, anxiety and depression, and, you know, using gaming, you know, in social circles to sort of get over that stuff. So I'm gonna have to, you know, call him up and have a conversation with him, and just get a lot of stuff off the chest that I'm doing right now. Really, the biggest blow to me right now, sort of an emotional blow, which cut me rather deeply, actually, is that probably, I guess it was about almost 3 weeks ago now, so probably like 4 or 5 days before we had our family gathering, which was actually almost 3, so it was almost about a month ago now. For the first time ever in the 7 years that I've lived here, my grandma, she didn't know who I am. She didn't know who I was. I guess this hit me harder than I thought, but I always joked that she would never forget me because she hates me so much, because I'm always the one here telling her what she can and can't do, what she can and can't eat, and I'm trying to, you know, make sure that she's healthy. And I think I've been pretty successful at it. Her doctors commented before that, you know, her medication hasn't changed. very much at all, and so that she's very healthy, and so that I've done a good job, and which is nice to hear. I like to know that I'm doing a good job taking care of her. But like I said, it was just a blow the first time. I don't know if what my other family members went through as far as when they found out that my grandma doesn't recognize them and doesn't know who they are anymore. But for me, it stung pretty deep, and it's because I'm here. I'm here every day. You know, my family, most of them live out of the area. I actually don't. My parents live about 45 minutes north of me. My younger brother lives a good hour and 10 minutes north. My oldest brother, he lives in San Jose, so he's a good 8-9 hours away. Even my girlfriend's 45 minutes south of me. My aunt and uncle they're near, but they're never around. My uncle comes over maybe once a month to pay bills. But it's me. It's all me. It's been me for a long time. And, you know, without a break, I really don't go many places. I don't get a lot of breaks. So, it's been wearing on me. And, at the beginning of the year, I really, the seed was probably planted the end of last year, but definitely in the beginning of this year, if not maybe a little later, mid-semester, maybe March or April. But, you know, I started to think about life after my grandmother. And so I know that for me emotionally, I've had enough. I don't think that I could stay here much longer, and I guess it's just sort of fortuitous. I mean, it's sort of a bad way to look at it, but that she's gotten to the point where she doesn't even recognize me. Now that was the final straw for my uncles when she didn't know who I was anymore. It's like, okay, well, it's about time, and hence we had our meeting. And so I mean, I could go on. I'm gonna end up writing, hopefully, at least a pair of books about my experiences here. I want to novelize one. I have an idea of how I want to novelize my experiences here, but maybe like write a little memoir or something. But anyways, I really don't know what else to say. Just kind of going through a lot of stuff right now, and I hope I haven't, you know, ruined your day, you know, putting up quite an emotionally charged and depressing depressing commentary today. I really appreciate you guys. I really do. I really appreciate, you know, when people who watch and comment on my videos. You know, it's kind of funny because when you watch a video and you comment, especially for a smaller channel, it actually means something. So if you watch this, you know, let me I guess, you know, I don't know, impart something here. But when you watch a smaller YouTuber and you like their video, you know, I don't know, take the time to comment on it, because it feels good when you see views come in and nobody comments. You're like, okay, interesting. But when you get a comment, it means something. It means that, you know, somebody took the time to watch your video halfway, all the way through, whatever, but they took the time to comment, and that you had an impact. And so I appreciate that. I just want to, you know, for you guys who comment on my videos, I really do appreciate that. It's a highlight. It's such a small thing, but it means something. It's sort of I don't know, energizing. You know, when people are wanting to engage, even if it's just one comment and one reply, it does mean something. It looks nice. It just, I don't know. So I just wanted to thank you guys, everyone who watches the videos, who shares them, comments on them. It means a lot to me, and I just want to say that I appreciate that. So, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I shall talk to you guys later.